We are live. Let's go. We're live on LinkedIn. I'm so excited. Happy Saturday morning. It is 11:11 East Coast time, and our show goes live here at 11 a.m. every single day Eastern time. But if you're on the West Coast, then we'll actually be going live at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So welcome to the David Daily. And I just realized that my ticker at the top says the Daily David. It's the David Daily. And this is your news show for daily news. So today, if this is the first time that you're tuning in, go ahead and drop a comment where you're tuning in from. I would love to see you live in the comments. We're live on all major platforms, including none other than YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, and Kick of all platforms. So we're very excited today. This is episode 6, a daily live news show by none other than myself. And it is fueled by LinkedIn Live. The power of going live on LinkedIn is incredibly interesting because we have over 1 billion viewers and employees, business people, people who are watching this later. So if you've never watched this before on LinkedIn, come check me out on LinkedIn. And what's up, shoulda, woulda, coulda? Good to see you. And so that is the power of going live on LinkedIn. And then finally, I just want to say that if you've never gone live before, it is a beautiful season to start. I will always tell you that starting is the best way to get involved in anything that you want to get involved in. And what I would say to that is that if you haven't started or you haven't leaned into something on LinkedIn, then going live on LinkedIn could be one of the things that you could do maybe this new year. And if you need help going live on LinkedIn, I have a wonderful team over at the Revenue department. So they go live on LinkedIn every single week. We have multiple LinkedIn live shows, and we would love to have you on the show. All right, with that being said, our first segment is always current news, and we will be producing very soon current news. So in the world of current news, what we do is we take a look at the top LinkedIn news for the day. And today we see that Microsoft is expanding its quantum-inspired cooling optimization across Azure. So what that means is that Microsoft, one of the world's largest commercial companies, is inspired to optimize cooling across all of their cloud platform, otherwise known as Azure. And also, I see that shoulda, woulda, coulda is dropping. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Good to see all of the people in the chat today. Jesse, good to see you. I also see Paul, and I see John showing up as well. YouTube, we got some viewers. It's great. If you want to go ahead and post where you're tuning in from in the comments, that would be really great. All right, the second is that Amazon Bracket accelerates their testing for quantum logistics models. So yesterday we talked about Amazon Bracket. That's BRAKET. If you haven't heard of them, I would recommend checking them out. And what Amazon Bracket does is it gets the quantum simulation up and on the cloud. And the reason why I like what Amazon's doing here is because of the simple concept of superposition. So we learned recently that superposition is the ability for someone to have 2 qubits that can be in multiple places at the same exact time. And so Amazon Bracket is an amazing fully managed cloud service. It is a cloud service that enables you to bring your cloud solution and bring a very simple quantum environment to your cloud solution. So if you haven't tried out Amazon Bracket, I would definitely look into it, give it a shot. This is exactly what Amazon Bracket looks like. And the benefits of Bracket, of course, are right here. And what I really like is this idea here that we can actually accelerate scientific discovery. And what that means is easily working with different types of quantum computers and circulate that simulation immediately and directly on what? None other than the cloud, using a consistent set of development tools. So this is Amazon Bracket. If you started it or you've taken a look at it, please post in the comments. Would love to see if you are able to be in the quantum hardware. So that is the quantum aspect of Bracket, Amazon Bracket. If you haven't seen it, go check it out in the AWS. And the next bit of news comes from our good friends at Google, who advances their next gen qubit Sycamore technology. So what Google has done is they've called their technology Sycamore. And so you can see actually that they have come to a place where you just very quickly look at what is Google Sycamore on the Atlas browser. I'm currently browsing on Atlas. I love the Atlas browser. It is it is the browser that is focused on integrating AI into your browsing experience. As you can see, their quantum AI progress is going beyond the Sycamore. So here is a picture of the Sycamore chip. And we also have this image right here that shows one error at a time with 17 qubits. So now we're getting very much into the technical here. And then, of course, if you have 49 qubits coming together, this is a model on their Sycamore, you are now getting only 2 errors at a time. And then they have a 3 error at a time driving 97 qubits. Remember, qubits can be in the same location at the same time. It's a very interesting concept. And you can see that Google Steam actually reports that their new quantum processor, Willow, is the first to demonstrate exponential error suppression. So in other words, errors is going to be a big piece of quantum. And the reason why this really matters is because quantum is part of an expansion to accelerate AI technology. So this is Google Quantum Blog. This is where they're talking about all their quantum. You can definitely check this out in the comments later. But I digress. Getting back to the news of the day. And the next bit of news is about IBM. So we've been following the big five, which is Microsoft, Amazon, Google, IBM, and IonQ. These are the 5 major players in quantum. And IBM unveils a modular quantum data center architecture. So what I really like about the modularity concept, and this has been done many times, think about Tetris, right? You have these blocks coming down and you're able to modularize each little bit of quantum. So that's what I really like about quantum and IBM is that they're actually focusing on that themselves, which is a wonderful place to be. And IBM's unveiling this quantum data center here that you can see, and it's really phenomenal. It's this modular type of a quantum architecture inside their data center, where you can see that just from this diagram alone, and I'll zoom this up so you can see it, that you have a data center in Europe, for example, and a data center in the US. And those are focused on quantum technologies such as power and even potentially nuclear at some point. And then those actually go into this multi-channel scheduler. And then the channels come together in your typical cloud. Yesterday, we talked about the architecture for the classic cloud. So this is what the quantum architecture is looking like for Google, or sorry, for IBM rather. And then of course you have your user, that's us right here on our laptops, just going away at the cloud. So that's IBM Quantum, and I'm really excited for what IBM's doing. They're usually like a silent, stealthy technology focus in the backdrop. So never want to give any bit of um, less than attention to IBM. And then finally, we have IonQ. If you haven't heard of IonQ, IonQ is a leading technology firm in the quantum space, and they have trapped ion breakthroughs for commercial workloads. I'm really curious to know what this means, so we're going to take a quick look at this. So IonQ, if you haven't seen IonQ, this year they have been focusing primarily on the fact that they've tapped into this system for high fidelity qubit workloads. What does that mean? I'm not sure, but what I do know is that if they have a world record 2 qubit gate fidelity of 99.99% on their platform, meaning that for every 10,000 2 qubit operations, they have fewer than 1 error. So that level of fidelity with error operations for anyone who's in operations or uptime in data centers, I mean, if you have 3 nines after your 9%, 99% of uptime, then that means your data center can only be offline for 5 minutes a year. I mean, isn't that pretty crazy? So they announced that they had surpassed 3 nines on a barium ion system, which is a major milestone towards commercial grade quantum solutions. I love that IonQ is already thinking about that. This is exactly their focus area. And so as we look at that, we will start to see IonQ be a major player in the quantum space. And then, of course, NVIDIA, which is a close sixth, they are focused, of course, on GPUs. Yesterday, we learned that NVIDIA, one of the wealthiest companies on the New York Stock Exchange, having been the first company to surpass $5 trillion of valuation, is also launching a quantum simulation accelerator for hybrid compute. I love this. What that means is that they're taking the data in both of the sides of the data center, including their new modern workloads, their new GPUs, as well as their classical hardware, and accelerating work there. So I'm very excited for that. So that is the current news section. In the first 5 minutes of every show, we'll always make sure that we are putting putting the current news at the top of the show so you have that. And then the next piece is we always talk about quantum topics. So I really like the quantum topics section. Today was really more about how do we really make sense of all of the quantum research that's going on in the world today? How do we make sense of quantum concepts like two things can exist in parallel, or what used to be on would be off, and what used to be off will be on, and a bit can also be on and off simultaneously. And how do we have this concept? How can we even comprehend this concept of entanglement that says one qubit can be n number of distance away from and 2 qubit, and yet they can be directly affected to each other. So I'm still learning all these things, and I'm here to learn it together with you. So for some of the loyal followers, I know that Widleen had mentioned that she's watching this. Also, we have Carrie watching this as well. Thank you so much. I just talked and met up with Lad Patrick yesterday, so thank you as well for watching the live show. Eric Kim, I know that you're watching this. Thank you so much. I just feel so incredibly blessed to learn this together with you. And so there are many quantum concepts, and we'll start to bring on some experts on the show, which I'm very excited for. Our PR team is working around the clock to make sure that you get the highest and best quality use of your time that you possibly can. And the third segment of the show is all about AI and faith. I love talking about AI and faith for many reasons. One, because as a young kid, my Korean immigrant mother instilled into me that loving God, capital G, with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your mind was an important aspect to live a fulfilled and enlightened and joyful life. And if you know the fruits of that relationship with that God, the benefits of that is that you have love and you have joy and you have peace that just overflows. And no matter what's going on in your life, in my life, in our lives together, joy is at the center. And from that eternal joy, we have a happiness and we have a contentment and we have a true peace that surpasses any understanding. It goes beyond anything that our brain can comprehend, and it goes beyond a level of human understanding that is truly divine. And as a young kid growing up in many different cities, I think I counted 11 cities by the time I was 7 years young, we had a faith practice. Now, for us, that looked different. Maybe you can relate. It was going to a building, right? And that building had a brand on it. And that building and that brand had a set of rules, of guidelines, of regulations. And if you're like me, and you're a kid, you just kind of listen to what your parents say, what your advisors say, what your pastors say, your priests, your bishops, your ministers, your rabbis, your spiritual leaders, and you don't really ask a question about, what is this right? Is this true? You just kind of believe it. And then, of course, as you get older, you start to think about, okay, well, what actually does that mean for me? What does that mean for you? What does that mean for us? And I like what AI and faith has done. AI and faith has focused on the world's wisdom. And I love to bring up the website because if you just go to aiandfaith.org, you too can see what AI and faith is all about. So as I bring up AI and faith, you can see here that AI faith brings the wisdom of the world's great religions to the discussion, right? The conversation around the moral and ethical challenges of artificial intelligence. I want to break this down for a second, just for the purposes of this live show. What is AI? So, artificial intelligence is not human intelligence. All right. It's not divine intelligence. In fact, artificial intelligence is part of the intelligence. I see shoulda, woulda, coulda saying, bro, you're back. Yes, if you have been live streaming with me for the career of my life, you know that I've been live streaming since the very beginning of January, even this year, and even last year, investing heavily into creators, creator agencies, investing into the people who love to share. And I'm excited to bring all this content to you. So, AI and faith brings the wisdom. Okay, so what is wisdom? Wisdom is understanding, it's knowledge, it's experience, it's being able to, as Solomon did, right, look at the two women fighting over the baby and saying, this is a little story that he would, split the baby. Hey, two mothers come and say, this is my baby, going to the king of the old time and saying, this is my baby, no, that's my baby. What Solomon did in his gracious wisdom was he said, well, I'll split the baby, I'll give each of you half. And of course, one woman piped up and said, no, no, don't do that. You can give it to the other lady. And Solomon said, you, my friend, are the mother. Because only a mother would be able to sacrifice for their kid, even if that meant leaving their kid forever, just so that that child could live. And it's so true. Wisdom of the world. We seek wisdom of ancient texts, of ancient scrolls. We look at the ancient texts of even Hinduism and Muslim faiths, Buddhism. We also look at the Christian texts as well, the Dead Sea Scrolls. We look at all of the sources of the text. And there are many actually that are still on ancient tablets. These texts are texts that we have not fully understood or fully comprehended, and we will have a millennia, a generation upon a generation upon a generation to truly understand all of that. And so when we say the world's wisdom or the wisdom of the world's great religions, we utilize that nomenclature very specifically to focus on what is the religion of the world. And we didn't call this religion and AI. No, we call this AI and faith, because faith is simply believing in something that you cannot see, right? And having hope for an outcome that you cannot control. And that is exactly faith. It's the evidence of things that you cannot see, like the wind, for example. And it's the substance of hope, something that it's composed of having hope. And that's why we love the word faith. And then, of course, the world, the entire globe, we know that we're bigger than the United States, we're bigger than Asia or Europe or Africa or South and Central America or Antarctica or the North Pole or Australia. We know that as a world, we can come together to talk about these concepts. And then finally, morals and ethics. So I'm not going to get into these two pieces today necessarily, but there are ethicists and moral compasses that each individual follows, myself included. You have been taught ethics and morals by all sorts of things around you, people, society, regulated institutions. I mean, if you're talking about morals and ethics, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt what is right and what is wrong. And that really is the beginning of a moral and ethical journey. And we believe that there are significant challenges in technology, specifically artificial intelligence. And that's why our organization has been around for so long. And we really strive to equip and encourage people of faith to bring these time-tested faith-based values and wisdom to the ethics of AI and having a conversation about it, because ethics is really about understanding and having conversation about it when building technology. So that's my segment on AI and faith. Absolutely love that you're here listening and watching. And now I want to show you the final segment, which is Beyond the Bag. So the Beyond the Bag segment is where I reach into my bag. Okay, I carry a little travel bag. In fact, I love this little travel case. and pull something out. So today I'm going to pull something out. What will I pull out of my bag today? All right, a deck of cards. Look at that. It's called a bicycle deck of cards, and it says travel on it, of course, because I have many decks of cards. And so today I'm going to do a trick for you that I recently did and remembered from a good friend of mine. Growing up as a young kid, we would get together as a large family once a year. We'd get all the extended grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, anyone related to the Goki side or the Froning side, and we'd all get together in Mariastown, Ohio. And what we would always do is we would play cards, and we'd eat good food, and we'd exchange presents, and it was a jolly old time. And then when my great grandmother ended up passing, of course, all of that family ended up growing exponentially. I mean, every year there's a new baby or a new partner or a new person in the family. And so you can imagine eventually that just gets to become like just too big. And so, anyways, we'd always play cards. So once a year, we'd get together with the big family. And then 3 times a year in Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, we always get together and play a game. And so every time we play that game, typically it would be bid euchre, which some people know bid euchre. Some people know regular euchre. Others have never played euchre. And so there is a tradition of playing euchre with the family. And so I've learned that you can pass a lot of time playing cards, and having a deck of cards is always fun to, just pull out your deck of cards, get your ace of spades up on top, have a good little, time with your cards and play a good trick or play a good game. There's so many games. War was a good one that we used to play as a kid. Maybe you remember nostalgically, like, oh yeah, we're gonna play War. Here, you get half the deck, I get half the deck, and we play until no one has any more cards. And you would be on that last card, and it would be a double. And you'd have to go and do the double war. You'd go to war, and you do another double, and then you'd win. And it'd be so crazy, it'd be so fun. And I just love to see that we have so many people showing up. Naya says in the comments, great to hear from you, David, and about quantum. Yes, quantum technology is so good. So beyond the bag, always carrying a deck of cards. So if you see me in person, just ask me about the Beyond the Bag segment and say, David, I saw that you carry a bag around with you and you have a segment on your show called Beyond the Bag. And that is this right here, is the cards. I bring the cards with me everywhere. It's so fun. All right, finally, the last bit here is I just want to go back to our theme of the live stream, which is the Daily David or the David Daily for December 6th. This is your 6th episode, episode number 6. And we are bringing a daily news show to you, talking about current news, talking about quantum topics. And of course, AI and Faith is our nonprofit social cause that we care about. And of course, Beyond the Bag, which is my favorite segment, of course. You can see how excited I'm getting. And finally, bringing this to you every day, less than 1 hour, first thing in the morning, so that you too can see the news and you too can be included in a David Daily show and that we can continue to bring more value to you. So if you like this, I would encourage you to please like this video. That's the first thing you can do. Just tap that thumbs up. It's so easy. If you want to do a heart, you could do a heart. If you want to be in deeper conversation, communication, drop a comment. I love to read the comments. I love to see the internet trolls. I love to see the positive supporters. I love to see the lurkers. So I want to know who is watching and what is the most entertaining aspect of this show. If you've been listening for 24 minutes now, thank you so, so much. You are my most loyal followers. You are the people who really care about this live show. And thank you for the hearts. Thank you for all of the joy. Nicolette, I see you. I see so many people. I see Sandra. I see Tarante, David, Malik. I see Latina. I see Mari. Nice to meet you. So many people are joining in the feed. So good to see so many people, so many different spots all over the world, really. I see, oh, yeah. So we'll continue to build this community out and continue to go live. It's always the most difficult in the beginning. Anytime you start something new, it will be difficult, but it will always be worth it. And so I want to close out on that thought of, is it worth it? Oftentimes we think, all right, I have all the time in the world. I have all the location freedom in the world. I have all the money in the world. Actually, there's a book called All the Money in the World, and he actually gets all of the physical dollars in the world in his backyard. I think his name was like Quentin or something. But when I say you can have everything, will it be worth it if it's easy? There's this famous quote: the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. So that means we can examine all of life and all of what life has to offer. And that in that, we'll find more of ourselves, we'll be truer to ourselves. And for me, that's the David Daily, showing up every single day, whether it's pre-recorded or live. This one's live, just showing up, giving you news, giving you quantum topics, and AI and faith beyond the bag. So thank you for watching and tuning in. I'm going to close this show down. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.